My beloved child, there is a reason this message found you today instead of yesterday or tomorrow. Someone has been carrying your name in their heart longer than they have admitted, and recently they spoke about you to someone they deeply trusted. They thought it would be an ordinary conversation, but it became something they never expected. The moment your name was mentioned, the person listening became strangely quiet before asking, "Are you still thinking about them?" That simple question caught them completely off guard. They tried to smile, pretending everything was fine, but their silence revealed more than words ever could. Then they confessed something they had hidden for a very long time. They said no matter how busy life became, somehow every road reminded them of you. Every happy moment felt incomplete because there was always a thought wondering how different it would feel if you were there. The trusted friend listened carefully and then said something that instantly changed the atmosphere. People don't carry someone's name this long unless there's a reason beyond coincidence. Those words echoed inside their heart. Suddenly they stopped trying to explain away every feeling they had ignored. They realized this wasn't just another passing emotion. It had quietly become a part of who they were. But the conversation didn't stop there. In fact, that was only the beginning, because the next question uncovered something even more surprising. Don't skip, because what they admitted next is something they had never spoken aloud before, and it may completely change the way you see this connection. For several moments they couldn't answer. They looked away, searching for the right words, as if one honest sentence could change everything. Finally, they whispered, "I'm afraid they don't know how much they mean to me." The trusted friend smiled gently and asked, "Then why haven't you told them?" Another long silence filled the room. It wasn't because they didn't care. It was because they cared more than they wanted anyone to know. They confessed they had imagined speaking to you countless times, yet every imagined conversation ended with the same fear, that they would lose the chance before it even began. The friend leaned closer and quietly replied, "Sometimes the greatest mistake isn't saying the wrong thing. It's never saying anything at all." Those words struck deeply. Memories they had buried began rushing back. The first conversation, the unexpected smile, the little moments that seemed ordinary then but now felt unforgettable. They suddenly realized they had been collecting memories instead of creating new ones. Then something unexpected happened. The trusted friend remembered a detail from months ago, a tiny moment everyone else had forgotten. They reminded them of something you once said that revealed kindness, patience, and quiet strength. People rarely forget someone who made them feel understood, they said. Hearing that sentence changed everything. For the first time, hope became stronger than fear. They started wondering if perhaps this story wasn't finished after all. Stay till the end, because the final words spoken in that conversation became the reason they could no longer ignore what their heart had been trying to tell them. The conversation was almost over, yet one final question remained. The trusted friend looked at them with complete sincerity and asked, "If life unexpectedly gave you one more chance, what would you do differently?" This time there was no hesitation. The answer came immediately. They said they would stop hiding behind uncertainty. They would stop waiting for the perfect moment that never seemed to arrive. Most importantly, they would make sure you knew the truth instead of leaving everything to imagination. The friend nodded, but then smiled in a way that seemed almost mysterious. They quietly said, "You know, sometimes two people think they're waiting for each other while both believe it's already too late." Those words changed the entire meaning of the conversation. Suddenly every missed opportunity looked less like an ending and more like an unfinished chapter. Before they stood up to leave, the trusted friend shared one final thought that stayed with them long after the conversation ended. If someone keeps returning to your heart no matter how much time passes, maybe life isn't asking you to forget them. Maybe it's asking you to be ready when the next door opens. Those words remained in complete silence, yet they carried more hope than anything spoken before. Something shifted inside the person you loved that day. They walked away seeing the future differently than they had only minutes earlier. And what happened after that conversation became the beginning of a decision they never imagined they would finally have the courage to make. Because the next step they take may bring them closer to you than either of you ever expected, and the truth behind the decision is even more surprising than the conversation itself. Something huge is waiting for you. The conversation ended, but the silence that followed became louder than every word that had been spoken. The person you love walked away believing everything was over, yet those few sentences refused to leave their mind. Every ordinary moment suddenly felt different. They began noticing little reminders of you where they had never looked before. A familiar place. A song they hadn't heard in months. Even a passing thought that arrived without warning. It felt as though life itself was gently refusing to let your memory disappear. Then something happened that completely caught them by surprise. They met the same trusted friend again, and before they could even speak, the friend smiled and asked, "You're still thinking about them, aren't you?" There was no point pretending anymore. They simply nodded. The friend paused for a moment and quietly said, "Then maybe it's time to stop asking whether this connection is real, and start asking why it keeps returning." Those words stayed with them for the rest of the day. They replayed every memory, searching for something they had overlooked. That's when they realized the biggest truth wasn't hidden inside a dramatic moment, it had been quietly growing through all the little moments they once ignored. Every conversation, every smile, every unexpected coincidence suddenly carried a meaning they had never seen before. It was as if someone had been placing puzzle pieces in front of them all along, waiting for the right moment to reveal the full picture. Before leaving, the friend looked directly into their eyes and whispered, "Sometimes the answer you're searching for isn't ahead of you, it's already behind you, hidden inside the moments you dismissed." Those words unlocked something they could no longer ignore. Don't skip, because what they discovered next became the turning point that changed everything they believed about you. That night, they couldn't sleep. Instead of counting regrets, they started remembering details. They remembered the kindness you showed when no one else noticed. They remembered how your words stayed in their mind long after every conversation ended. They remembered how you made ordinary days feel meaningful without even trying. Then an unexpected realization struck them so deeply that they actually stopped what they were doing. They whispered to themselves, "Maybe I've been waiting for a perfect sign, when the sign has been there from the beginning." The next morning they returned to the trusted friend with a completely different expression. This time they weren't asking for advice. They were searching for courage. The friend listened quietly before saying something that felt almost impossible to ignore. "Do you know why some people never leave your heart? Because they entered your life carrying a lesson your soul refuses to forget." Those words changed the entire conversation. Suddenly they stopped focusing on fear and started thinking about possibility. They realized that every delay, every misunderstanding, and every unanswered question had shaped them into someone stronger than before. Then the friend asked one final question. "If tomorrow you unexpectedly crossed paths with them, would your heart be ready to tell the truth?" They froze. Not because they didn't know the answer, but because, for the first time, they did. Stay till the end, because the decision they made after that question became the beginning of something neither of them saw coming. And if this story has touched your heart so far, take a second to subscribe, share this video with someone who needs hope today, and leave a comment telling us which moment spoke to you the most. Your story may encourage someone else who is quietly waiting for their own answer. The following days felt different in ways they couldn't explain. Fear slowly gave way to peace, and uncertainty began losing its grip. They stopped asking whether you were thinking about them and started becoming the kind of person they hoped you would be proud to know. That quiet change became the greatest surprise of all. The trusted friend noticed it immediately and smiled. "Now I understand," they said. "You were never only searching for them. This journey was also changing you." Those words carried a truth that echoed long after the conversation ended. Then, just before they walked away, the friend shared one last thought that left complete silence behind. Life has an unusual way of bringing people together when both hearts are finally ready, not when they are impatient, but when they are prepared. The person you love stood there without saying a word, yet inside, everything had changed. They no longer saw your story as a closed chapter. They saw it as a page waiting to be turned. And somewhere deep inside, they felt that the next encounter would not feel ordinary. It would answer questions that had remained hidden for far too long. As they took their first step forward, one unexpected thought crossed their mind. What if this entire journey wasn't leading me away from them, but guiding me back at exactly the right time? They smiled for the first time in a long while, because hope had finally